Evan Mobley is ranked second in a lot of people's big boards, and I'll be honest.
Where's he on your big board?
My big board, I have Cade one. I do have Mobley two.
Oh, okay.
I do have Mobley too.
I have
Um,
Mobley 3.
I'll say this: watching USC, I was extremely frustrated watching them because one, I was falling asleep. They're a really boring team to watch. I was falling asleep while watching them. Number two is I kept just getting frustrated in how they were using Evan Mobley because I think they didn't use him enough.
Mm.
And even though he wasn't getting used enough, he averaged 16, 9, and 2 assists. And it looked like he could have been averaging 5 assists per game because he created a lot of open shots. I think if he really got used to the max, kind of like the way Cade was used at Oklahoma State, Mobley would average like 23 and 11. Like, no doubt about it. I think he would have been that dominant. But Evan Mobley, I think he's probably one of the most boring players to watch. Like, he's just a fundamentally sound player. And that's why I think Houston might take Green at 2 because Mobley is not gonna, he's not a box office attraction like Jalen Green is. But I think Evan Mobley is a better player. I'll
Okay.
be honest. I mean, I think he just has a refined post game. He can shoot mid range shots. He plays from the elbow a lot. He can face up really well. He's not a bad 3-point shooter. And when you see his form on his shot, I see a 35% 3-point shooter at least in his future. I think he's a very good passer. I'd even say he's a better passer than Cade. I
Mm.
think he is.
Wait, whoa.
I think he is.
Evan
But
Mobley?
yes, I seen Evan Mobley get doubled the same way Cade gets doubled, and he makes these great passes, the same passes that I seen Cade turn over. I think Evan Mobley's a really great passer. He handles doubles well. He's an agile defender who can guard perimeter guys, and he's an elite shot blocker. The only concern with him is that he's 210 pounds, but he's not even 210. He's 215 pounds now. I think he knows that. I think he knows he has to gain weight in his second or third year in the NBA. I think he's going to be 230, 225. So I don't think that's that big of a concern. I really do think this guy is the real deal. I think people are sleeping on him. And even though K to me is number one, I don't think it's that far off. I'm really high on Evan Mobley.
You didn't even give your pro comparisons, bro.
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh. Okay. That's not a bad one. I think he can be better than Chris Bosh, though.
I mean my pro comparison is Chris Bosh. I see some AD in him too. I do. I see some AD. I really think he's not your typical guy. I don't think this is a case where this is Marvin Bagley here.
Mm.
I don't think so. Because I know people are kind of hesitant to take big men because of the wing position has just been so dominant. But I don't think Evan Mobley's like a Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley coming out of college was a piss poor defender. He wasn't a good defender. That's not Evan Mobley. I really do think Evan Mobley can be a star. And Marvin Bagley, even though he hasn't lived up to expectations, he still averages 14 and 7.
Yeah.
If you put if Marvin Bagley was an elite defender, the way that I think Evan Mobley will be and is currently, then we're talking about Marvin Bagley kind of like we're talking about Jaren Jackson, maybe even better. So because of that, I think Evan Mobley really has a high ceiling. I think he has all NBA potential. I don't quite see MVP. I see all NBA type of guy, and I think his floor is an all-star. I
And
really do.
it's funny that you brought up Marvin Bagley because I think coming out of college, Mobley was a better shooter than Marvin Bagley too. I think that's kind of what's been hindering Marvin Bagley. You know, him coming into the league, and the league is transitioning into shooting bigs. He hasn't quite caught up yet. But with Evan Mobley, you're right. He is kind of a unicorn type of player in terms of you see a lot of wow in him, but you don't know if that wow is gonna translate. You know, you see a 7-foot guy that can move like AD, is skinny like AD, but he's long. You know, he can block shots. He is a pretty good playmaker for his size. He has a very rare touch around the basket that a lot of bigs don't have at his height. You know, a very soft touch, kind of like a Tim Duncan touch, where you see the light floaters. His game is fundamentally sound, and for a big like that in this era, you don't see that at that age. So he is quite of a unicorn, and it's interesting to me because it's like going in. I don't think Houston takes him either. I think he's going to Cleveland, and I think that's probably the best spot for Cleveland because they have Darius Garland, who's a shooter at the spot, and he can run pick and rolls with him, and I think that'd be phenomenal. But I think with Evan Mobley, like you said, being 210, 215, Cade is bigger than him, and he's about 4 or 5 inches shorter. So the weight, he has to fix that up. But in this league, I think with the spacing and the shooting big, I think this is the perfect time for Evan Mobley to come in and make his mark. I see a lot of David Robinson in him. Like you said, Anthony Davis. I've seen a lot of Anthony Davis in him. But the main guy was probably D-Rob for me. Just watching him play, I saw a lot of the Admiral and Evan Mobley. Defensively, I see a lot of AD, the switchable defense. And he doesn't look like a guy who will go out there and you're like a Zubac where you put him out there and you're like, damn, we're fucked now. He's stuck out there in an island. Like this doesn't look like that situation. It looks like Evan Mobley's comfortable out there guarding certain types of guards. Obviously not the elite of the elite, but common guards. You think you can stick him out there. So that's my pro comparison for him. I don't see like you said, I don't see MVP, but multiple all NBA, all defensive. I can definitely see that from Evan Mobley.
I didn't even get to my weaknesses. There are a few. One of them was the size. I think his free throw shooting has to get better. And it's really just his lack of aggressiveness. That's really it. Because there are times where he gets the ball, and I know he's trying to play within the offense, and he doesn't try to create for himself. And he just not that aggressive. And I wish he was, because if he was, he would have definitely averaged over 20 points in college, which is in college, that's a lot of points to average over 20 points. But talking about the team fit, I think Houston, man, if I'm the one picking, even though I like Jalen Green, it would be really hard for me to pass up on Evan Mobley. I know that Christian Wood is there, but man, I just don't know if I can pass up on Evan Mobley, because we know the wing position does hold more value than bigs. That's a fact. But shooting guards, especially in Jalen Green's archetype, I don't think so. When
Yeah,
we're
I agree.
talking about Evan Mobley, because this is a guy who can score 20 and 10 a night, can score 20 a night, but can also give you elite defense. I think Jalen Green can score 20 a night, but on the other side of the court will be a liability, and he's going to give up points as well. So that's why if I was Houston, it would be hard for me not to draft Evan Mobley and at least try and see if Christian Wood and Mobley can work out. And
It's oh sorry.
yeah, and even if they don't work out, I mean, I'm trading C Wood and I'm getting somebody I'm better, even though he's great. So I think the Rockets have a tough decision at two, but the Cavaliers, I think him being there is just a perfect fit. I would trade Allen right away because we don't need him anymore, and I just rock with Mobley because Garland, Okoro, Mobley, I think that's a pretty good young core. I wish they would keep Sexton because I think Mobley could be the glue that puts their offense together, the way he can pass out the post and he can play defense. I think he would really put all that together.
And you know, it's funny that you said that. I feel like the shooting guard position is kind of an anomaly because the shooting guard position, like the guys like Bradley Bill, Jalen Green coming in, Zach Levine to an extent, just scoring guards. You can get that out of your point guard, your wing, but you can't get that versatility out of every big. And when you have that, that is a special thing. So I think Houston has a good, bad decision to make because they have two prospects that can potentially make them great again. So they're in a good position where they're gonna make a good decision regardless. I think Jalen Green will be an all-star, and I think he will be, an NBA all NBA type of guy. But Evan Mobley, you're right, he is hard to pass on. Team fit, I like Cleveland or Toronto more, man. I think Toronto needing a center, like a really good center that can play defense. I think Evan Mobley will be great next to Siakam, OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet. I think that'd be incredible. Cleveland, like you said, Garland. Even if they get, they want to still trade Colin Sexton, that's fine too. But with Garland, Okoro, Evan Mobley, they trade Jared Allen because let's be realistic. Jared Allen is what he is. He's going to be that. Evan Mobley, you get a guy who can probably do Jared Allen things and score on the offensive end consistently. But like you said, his weaknesses, just his size. I think his size and his lack of confidence. I think the aggression comes from the lack of confidence in his game. He doesn't think he's that guy yet, but I think he has the ability. He just hasn't understood where he needs to put his foot and his dominance into a game. That's why his aggression isn't seen, or he doesn't do it a lot. But his size really, a 210 big. He looks like JaVale McGee, all flappy winged and all that. So that's really his weaknesses for me. But team fit, Cleveland and Toronto, I like better than Houston, honestly.
If Evan Mobley goes to Toronto in
They're a playoff team.
4 seasons, they can be title contenders.
4 is stretching it, maybe 3.
I think that's how good Mobley is. I love if they were to draft Suggs or Kaminga, I would love that for them. But if Evan Mobley is there, you don't even think about it. Like
Yeah.
you don't even think about it. It's just you're gonna draft Mobley. He's
I
that
feel
good.
like, if they get in Kaminga, he's a great talent, but they need a 5. So
They really
Mobley
do
fits
need a
that.
five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
because
need a 5.
I think Anunoby could become a star. I think he could be an all-star. Fred is that borderline all-star player. We know Siakam already is an all-star. So you
Trent
get
at the 2,
Mobley.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So if you get Mobley, who I think can be an all NBA player, you have an all NBA player with 2 all-stars next to him. That is a team that can really compete. Like
Exactly.
Toronto, if he doesn't slip, I would hope and pray that Cleveland is super high on Allen and try to trade up and get Mobley
Yeah.
because Cleveland, we're not sure, who's really running that front office because they want to trade Sexton and you don't know how they really feel about Mobley. They could really not want
They
Mobley.
could take Kaminga at 3.
Exactly. They could take Kaminga and they do need a wing as well because they might be going off of what do we need. So if they're trading Sexton, okay, we're going to move Okoro to the 2 and we're going to draft Kaminga at the 3. Now we have
That's not bad though.
Yeah. Now we have Garland, Okoro, Kaminga, K Love, and Allen. That's not horrible, but obviously Mobley's just a better player.
Yeah. You can make that work.